Greetings, friends, wherever you are in the world. It just occurred to me, why does every big effigy look like a penis? It just occurred to me. I mean, really? Are we really seeing the biggest cosmic thundering penis heading towards us? It is an interesting, well, maybe this is the very last. Maybe this is the end of patriarchy. Please God, we don't see any more phallic symbols after 3i Atlas. Having said that, it is it not, a phenomenon? And the emergence of this galactic sigil appears to demonstrate to us that we're standing at the edge of a cosmic threshold, one way or the other. And of course, producer Christy and I chose to do this live broadcast to really bring together another bohemian ragtag panel of geniuses, the very best amongst humanity, people leaning very hard into inquiry, into truth, into consciousness, which I dare say speaks also to the spirit of all of you out there watching this broadcast. And I can see we've got off to a tremendous start. I think that's probably record numbers coming in. Not surprising, he said, because this is a big enigmatic subject. And I'm also proud of the fact that we began this many months ago before it became a populist theme. And we've been tracking it, and with some of the world's great experts. Today is a unique piece because we bring back David Sereda, who needs no introduction to any of our networks. But we have remote viewers, as we promised, joining us as well. And of course, George H. Lewis, my bestie, astrologist and cosmologist. So we're going to do a pretty deep dive today, and we will be inviting Q&A from audience. Producer Christy will be helping to check questions to try and keep the thread not chatty in terms of, just try and keep it to questions, if you will, not conversational, because oftentimes people get into having conversations on those threads and lose us completely. But really, we're looking for pretty pointed questions out there from anyone on the subject. So astronomers have, and let me just cue this up, astronomers have confirmed an extraordinary interstellar visitor, 3i Atlas, only the third known object to enter our solar system from beyond the stars. And it has shifted to an electric blue hue, purportedly, accelerated without propulsion, and emits radio frequencies identical to the legendary WOW signal of 1977. I'm not quite sure why that was a static image. In any event, 7 plasma jets. Oh, and incidentally, that WOW signal of 1977 was the mathematical heartbeat that was once thought to be our first whisper from the stars. So 7 plasma jets are now erupting from the core of 3i Atlas, a heptagonal geometry that no comet or asteroid has ever worn. And NASA's feed falls silent. Well, surprise, surprise there. The usual deep state fuckery going on at the expense of the taxpayer. But hey, we'll leave Trump and his lot to take care of that. The official story, therefore, pauses with NASA turning and facing the wall. And so once again, it is the independent observers, the intuitives, the remote viewers, and the awakened scientists amongst us who must step forward to read the language of the cosmos for ourselves. And in fact, that's entirely appropriate, because could we give a proverbial fuck about the government's rendition of that? No, we could not. What if Atlas is not simply passing through our sky, but through our consciousness? A mirror event in which the universe is measuring us as much as we are measuring it. And every age has its annunciation, a signal that whispers, humanity, are you ready? Or as I prefer to put it, humanity, are you ready to play? Perhaps this is ours, a message from a messenger woven of plasma and purpose, a test of our perception as much as it is a test of our outdated physics. So some will call it a psyop, as they do, and that's fair play. Some will call it a prophecy. That's also fair play. Others will call it a myth in real time. Yet beyond every label is the undeniable fact that something intelligent is knocking at the membrane of our world. And so through this Lazarus broadcast, we open the holodeck of inquiry, uniting science, symbolism, and soul to decode what Atlas truly is. Is it technology or consciousness, a cosmic mirror or a bridge? And tonight we're asking the seminal question: who is sending the signal and who are we becoming as we receive it? So that said, welcome to 3i Atlas Rising, decoding the interstellar signal. The story is no longer out there, friends. It is unfolding within us. Let me bring on my beloved David Sereda. David, good to see you.
Good to see you, Sacha. The data on 3i.
Hold off on that intro for a moment. I just want to bring everyone in the studio, and then I will bring you in to give your intro. George H. Lewis, sir, good to see you.
Hi. How are you?
You're looking younger and prettier every time we see you. What is your dirty trick?
I just shaved today. That's all.
Very good. That's a great trick. All right, I want to introduce Birdie Jaworski. Good to see you,
everybody.
Thank you for
I'm so
joining.
glad to be here, Sacha, and George and David. I'm so excited to be able to share my experiences as a remote viewer.
Terrific. Looking forward to that. And Jenny Lee, let me bring you on there. Good to see you as well.
Hello. How are you?
Thank you for joining us, Jenny. Very happy.
You're welcome.
Very good. Okay, friends, together, these four luminous minds form tonight's 3i Atlas Council, explorers standing between science and sentience. So, observational, intuitive, and remote viewing insights. First, I just want David to walk us through the latest findings, both from telescopic data and, David, your anonymous feedback that you're getting from the circle. I know you've been very connected to the vanguard of the inquiry in this. What new or converging signals have emerged? Please, 3 minutes or less. Thank you.
Oh my God, 3 minutes. I'm going to panic because there's too much happening. Okay,
We'll give you 5.
Let's go to my screen here, share screen, just to show you what's happened, which is a big surprise that just happened today, because we have this new visitor that just showed up out of nowhere called 2025 V1 Borisov. And V1 Borisov miraculously is at its closest position to Earth today, 11/11, which I find incredible because 3i Atlas up here at the top just reached the outer band of the hypothetical orbit of hyperdimensional planet 591, which is up in here. And my original prediction was that the bullseye of 3i Atlas crossing 591 was actually...
It's not legible, David. No one's going to read that, certainly not on telephones and what have you. Any way of amping that up considerably?
You mean making it bigger like this?
Sure, of course. We need to get visibility on it.
Okay, so if I go back to my original prediction for 3i Atlas to enter the orbit of planet 591, which is right inside the orbit of Mars.
Right.
I had ChatGPT do the math and tell me, create a hypothetical orbit for an invisible planet 591. How far away would it be from the sun in astronomical units? And what date would 3i Atlas intersect the bullseye of the orbit? And it turns out I was dead on. It's October the 23rd, which is my 15-year-old daughter, Alera Sereda's birthday, which is incredible. Incredible that using a ruler, in the beginning, I ended up hitting the bullseye. So now we have this new one. And when these new visitors show up in the inner solar system, 2025, right here, V1 Borisov, it just shows up only days ago, and it's going to be on November 11th at its closest position to Earth, which is the second date that 3i Atlas crosses the outer band of hyperdimensional planet 591.
Yeah.
So again, that is absolutely stunning. But what's even more stunning is now we have pictures from, I'm going to actually show this. This is really stunning. Okay, so let's go to this article here. And this is what has happened. And you know about the jets, but nobody has looked at what we call the jet angles. And the jet angles, I
We're not seeing your
analyzed.
screen yet. Are you sharing?
Yeah, we're about there. We're just about
Okay.
there.
Got it.
Okay, so the jet angles happen to be, they're all marked for us by astronomers. And when I connect all these angles, they're all pyramid angles. So 26 degrees is the slope angle of the interior ascending and descending passages of the Great Pyramid. 19.5 degrees is Richard Hoagland's famous angle, which is half of 39 degrees. And 39 degrees is resurrection angle for the ancient Egyptians and is the complementary angle of the slope angle of the pyramid. So if the slope angle of the pyramid is 51 degrees and a 90-degree quadrant, the leftover is 39, which is why it's complementary. It's actually it's more precise than that. It's 38 point something, but I'm not going to go into that. Also, in this image of 3i Atlas, you see this rectangle, this square in 3 dimensions, this gray line in the bottom.
Yeah.
That's in the real photograph. Nobody seemed to notice this perfect square geometry but me. So this is incredible data sitting in here, because if you think of the movie
David, budge over to the right slightly. You're slightly blocked by the inset screen. If you could just center yourself a bit more.
like here,
that would help a bit more. Yeah.
well, I just turned my camera.
There
So
you go.
then the next day, a couple days later, November 9th, this is just a couple days ago, the jet just basically
Can you blow that up?
all the other jets.
Are you able to blow that up so we can see it?
This jet angle was so obvious to me when I was looking at it, because that is the master angle in the pyramid. This is what Peter Lamazurier called the 26-degree angle, runs right through Bethlehem, the birthplace of Christ, at summer solstice. So I got my protractor in there, and yep, it's 26.3 degrees, that jet angle. So it's communicating probably the second most sacred angle in the Great Pyramid at 26.3 degrees, which again, this angle is so incredible. This is Peter Lamazurier's graphic of the 26.3 degree line cast from the shadow of the sun at summer solstice on the Great Pyramid. But if I go into SunCalc, which is amazing because it shows you pyramid angles, that angle is confirmed as the angle of the rising sun on the Giza Plateau at summer solstice. But also that 3i Atlas on Christmas Day will be at the outer 51.8537972 degrees from Earth on Christmas Day. So it's clearly communicating this. The 26.3 degree angle to the west, which is the setting angle of a rising and setting body, runs right through Fatima, Portugal, where the miracle of the sun happened in 1917, October 13th. So you have rising and setting, and that denotes what caused the miracle of the sun at Fatima on October 13th, 1917 was hyperdimensional planet 139 in my model. Actually obscures the sun and creates a eclipse, causing the event to happen. So what we're seeing, Sacha, is 3i Atlas, its angle that it just gave us is the sacred angle of 26.3 degrees to the east is the rising of the Star of Bethlehem at the birth of Christ, and it goes up in the sky and it sets in the west, like all stars and planets do. At 26.3 degrees to the west is where the miracle of the sun at Fatima happened. So what is it telling us? It's saying, look at these angles, because these angles are the positions of these invisible planets in the solar system.
Very good.
And then there's one more really quick. This one is even more stunning, Sasha. This is probably the most stunning one of all, because then what happened is earlier in the week, we got imagery. I'll show that a little bit later. Earlier in the week, we got imagery actually of a black cube obscuring the sun. I mean, obscuring the view of two cameras that we have. New images came out from Happy Jack, Arizona, from the new Lau Observatory, which is just east of Sedona, of 3I Atlas, but it showed another object above it, and nobody seemed to notice the object above it. And the object above it shows a streaking over time of light, but in front of that streak of light is a black cube, a hyperdimensional cube. Then I confirmed on NASA's LASCO C3 camera the same cube obscuring the background stars when 3I Atlas was at its closest position to the sun, which is its perihelion. So we now have two pieces of evidence of two positions on my chart of hyperdimensional planets, 591 and 139.5, demonstrated by 3I Atlas. But later I'll show the imagery of that because I have to find it.
Okay. Thank you, David. Fantastic introduction. Just quickly, David, just going through my feed in the last 24 hours, I just, there's thousands of memes that are being conflated there. And one assumes that many, if not most, if not all, that are on the popular social media are kind of engineered memes. And that, of course, is a very real and existential issue of the kind of shittery going on with the PsyOps programs within the intelligence community. But having a look at just some of these memes, robotic micro spiders linked to 3I Atlas, discovered on polar ice sheets, causing worldwide alarm. What are we dealing with here in short thrift?
Well, you've got a lot of diversion stuff being thrown out there. In fact, the diversion stuff, which is the fake stuff, is getting more views than the real.
That's right.
Yeah,
James,
and that's an operation to get, like, people saying 3I Atlas is heading directly for Earth, and they're just trying to. What they're intentionally doing is creating a smear, so that we know the smear stuff is fake, so that people won't look at the real stuff.
Right.
The real hardcore data.
Right. Well, there we go. We need to prepare the public, says breaking news. And
I mean, at this point, I would trust remote viewing far more because of how accurate remote viewing is than a lot of this stuff.
Well, exactly. And that brings us deftly to the next point. Birdie, based on your recent sessions, what structural or energetic signatures define Atlas? And from a technical perspective, does it resemble a vessel, a sentient field, or a natural intelligence engaging us through an unfamiliar modality?
I spent a number of hours remote viewing 3I Atlas. Now, I've been a remote viewer for 30 years. I was one of the very first civilians trained in remote viewing after the government declassified the Stargate program in 1995. And so, like most remote viewers out there who have been trained in this manner, I remote everything blind, meaning I don't know what I'm looking at. I'm given a set of random numbers, and I start with just those random numbers, and I find out at the end what it is that I have remote viewed. So I was given 3I Atlas to remote view, and I did this. The first time was on July 31st, and you can actually watch my live remote viewing, like step by step, exactly how I do it, what came out on my YouTube channel. No rivets. But what I got, I immediately realized that we were looking at an astronomical object, and that it came from extraordinary distance far away, billions and billions of light years away. It's also billions of years old. But I got that it's essentially is a comet. It is a natural object with some unusual features. But the most interesting thing to me is that I discovered is that a civilization billions of years ago knew that this object was passing through their system, much like it's passing through ours today, and it deposited a message on it. Just like we sent Voyager out in the 70s with our own encodings, this was like their Voyager. They sent up a probe to 3I Atlas, of course, they didn't call it that, and they drilled into the surface of this comet-like astronomical object, and they deposited what I called a thumb drive when I was mapping, when I was remote viewing. And this information, it is like a live intelligence of their species. Their species was dying, and they wanted to get this information out so that there would be a historical record of their community, of the people that they were. They're very much unlike us, but it was incredibly beautiful, this message. I also got that this message has been broadcasting for eons, forever, and at certain points in time. Now, is the wow signal this broadcast? It could be. I in the works right now. I will eventually be looking at this blind, so it's in a pile, and I get it when I get it. But I do believe that we have picked up this signal. I got that the government was aware of this signal. They're aware of what's happening with this. They know that there's important information, and because they were so more advanced than us, so incredibly more advanced than us. And this was billions of years ago.
Magnificent.
That this item that's inside the comet could potentially actually manipulate the comet in some way. So this might be what we're seeing in terms of its motion, how it's acting, how it's not entirely like a regular comet. So it was very exciting. That was the initial findings that I got.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bertie.
Thank you.
Tremendous intro. Jenny, your downloads from 2022 described visual and vibrational elements that now echo what's being observed.
Yes.
So what did you perceive then, and how might those early impressions inform our understanding now?
So I usually get stuff years in advance, and this was like 3 years ago that I got this. And the biggest thing about this is the energy from it. It's self-containing. Everything about it is self-containing. And she has diagrams of the ship that's presented in front of you. So let me kind of go over this. So the Earth will change with the colors and formats of pink. The Earth's crust is going to change. This is a huge collective vibration it's been sent here deliberately. And the other opening is this circle motion of the energy coming in. Now this shows you how these ships work, because everything's self-containing. So one corner of a wall here is not the same there. Everything is a circular motion. Everything is dimensional. There also is a portal that goes through it, can go in through dimensional. So everything is self-containing in this process. So the main thing of all these dimensions in this ship is the fact that there's always a crystal line process. Some of these colors we have not seen at all in this world at all. And some of these ships, what we're seeing on the outside of the ship is what our mindset can take, and so when they actually showed it looking like a rock, I'm like, they're saying, as long as your mindset can accept that, that's what your veil of understanding is going to take. But I believe you can push it in and material will change with it. So I think it's showing us this because that's what I think we can accept that form. But as the form gets closer, it's going to change, and it moves like the ocean. It moves in a motion. There's a protective barrier around this. So the crystal line that's in it as a vibration that consisting is already pointed towards Earth and has a sister ship that is already inside this planet that is connecting with, because it is aligning the ley lines, the pyramids, serpent mounds. It's something has to be reactivated again. This is not a negative process whatsoever. I believe there's a vibration that's going to turn us all on in us. It is a hum. It's a stillness that is being created, that's being activated. And so the beings what people want to see, it is not of a flesh process. It is of energy frequency and layers that you will see. So it really has to do with your mindset, what your veil can accept the original form that they are at. So this is an activation that they showed me that we're all going to be a part of. The skies are going to turn pink, and you're going to feel this humming sensation in the stillness that's going to hit Earth. And so, but there's a piece of it that's already by Antarctica that's always been down beneath for a long time. So everything has to come back online again in our world. This has to do with the Ruby Lake, the Ruby frequency that I drew months ago before this showed up everywhere. So I draw everything I see. So there's a lot of activity happening in Antarctica, and that's a main point of everything. All these ships, there's still ships in Antarctica that's underneath the ice. It's been there for decades, forever. And that's where that red ruby, this is all connected together. We want to separate things, but it's all connected as one collective together. It's an activation that we know inside of us that you can feel it. You feel it's activating you. You know the knowledge. The fear is going away. We're all part of this collective energy.
Indeed. Jen, thank you. I'm so sorry. My phone went off. I just had to cancel it. That fascinating. Did you finish your intro there? Did you want anything further to say? Jen, did I interrupt you there? Forgive me. I was turning.
No, you're fine.
Oh, very
No,
good.
fine.
Very good. Thank you for that. My question immediately before I pass on to George is the pink hue and the hum. That sounded to me. Yeah, I'm feeling that already. What timeline are we looking at as you see it when that phenomenon might be fully extant?
I think it's already in activation mode. Some of us are already getting it. I'm already teaching it in my class, the hum. And people, it's already in us. See, this is the main thing, that creator reside in us. This is the one thing that nobody can contain but what creator put inside us. We're going into the collective of humanity. They all show on the negative end of anything negative, it's going to dismantle like particles in the sky. And you're just going to see this black dust disappear. Our world, for things to change, to go into the golden age, has to be at a different frequency, a higher vibration. So a negative cannot survive in this process. So this is universal. This is the thing where people change the process of aliens. It's all either you serve the light or you serve the darkness. So it doesn't matter what version of aliens or beings it is, it's serving the light in every process.
Very good. Thank you. George, from an archetypal or astrological perspective, how does the arrival of an interstellar object like 3I Atlas mirror the collective thresholds that humanity is crossing? And does its timing correspond with celestial alignments, signaling an evolutionary passage? That's the obvious question.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The subject of fear came up. For me, this is so much about us reacting and re-understanding biological cosmology. And it's astrology is a language to understand as above, so below. And here we are on 11/11, the 11th of November, 2025. That's the palindrome. And right today in the land of Saturn, United Kingdom, remember it's ruled by Capricorn, ruled by Saturn. They've just, obviously it's Remembrance Day and that's been inverted, but the BBC is poised to be sued for $1 billion for misinformation. We are seeing the total fall of Saturn. And here's what I've said to all of you many times, and we know this, is Saturn is in his weakest part of the zodiac. And as Saturn moves into the first part of Aries, February 14th, next year, 2026, with the conjunction with Neptune at the 0 point of Aries on the world axis, that hasn't happened for over 6,000 years. And this coincides with 3I Atlas. Some people think it's a comet. Some people think it's an interstellar object. I'm calling it a very technical thing. I'm calling it a thing, but I think it's highly intelligent. And I'll tell you why astrologically. It is not lost on me and many astrologers that every time it comes next to a planet, it chooses that planet when it's in its either domicile or exaltation. When it came past Jupiter, Jupiter's in its exaltation of Cancer. Isn't it interesting that the United States Republic was founded when Jupiter was in Cancer? And what are we doing now? We're reactivating the Second Republic, dare I say the new Atlantis. For me, Atlantis has always been in the Americas. That's another conversation. And what is Cancer? It's a rebuke, because it's ruled by the moon, it's a rebuke to Saturn that rules Capricorn. And so what we're seeing this power shift of Saturn, the decay of the City of London, the decay of the European Union and the Crown. It's all enmeshed, the Vatican. And the 3I Atlas comes in and it attaches itself energetically to Mars. Let's go back to the beginning. Obviously, David Sereda's work is phenomenal on this, and we should look to him for all the actual specifics. But when you look at the alignment of Mars, what you see is the peace process being rolled out on that exact day by the Trump administration. What is Mars? Mars is permanent war. There's a reorganization, a reconfiguration of the archetype of Mars. There's even talk due to the nickel, and I was listening to David talk to Kerry Cassidy the other day about the nickel and the reactivation of the Mars atmosphere. That's another conversation. But then we moved to Venus. We had the full moon in Venus. It was the full moon in Taurus, as we know, a moment ago on November 5th. But what does Venus rule? Venus rules Libra, and that's where the 3i Atlas came and aligned with Venus when she was in Libra, another domicile or exaltation. And finally, we get to this, when 3i Atlas on the winter solstice comes together with our planet Earth, planet Gaia. And it's quite incredible. It's exactly on a new moon where the sun, the moon, and Mars come together. And where is Mars then? In his exaltation of Capricorn. Again, a rebuke to Baphomet, or a reorganization of the real myth of Baphomet. And finally, what I would say is I find it interesting that it's called 3i Atlas. 3i, ninth letter of the alphabet, 9. I is ninth letter of the alphabet. To know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of frequency vibration, 3, 6, 9. Atlas, father of the Oceanid. And where is Uranus right now? On the Seven Sisters. On the Pleiades, right on the Pleiades. So we are seeing a Palladian conversation come into the myth, naturally through the myth, but also through the planetary placements. And finally, I'll leave off with this one, is why are we feeling so much of the time at the moment, certain amount of anxiety? Because not one planet, bar Uranus, is in an Earth sign. Every single planet in our solar system is in fire, air, or water. And that's why the grounding is so vital. We've got to get barefoot on the ground, into nature, structured water, real food, no synthetic food. And that's going to allow us to bring in the light codes. We've all had non-terrestrial experiences recently. I had this massive orb come across me the other day. This is very normal now. And the Uranian energy, the electrical current in our piezoelectric charge is being made manifest. We're being turned up a notch or two or three.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for that. Beautiful. Birdie, does Atlas, and this is as far as interpretations multiply, two dominant narratives are forming, right? So the shadow, surveillance, manipulation, control, and constrictive, and the light, activation, awakening, upliftment. They may not be opposites, but phases of one polarity wave. So that's framing this next volley of questions. Birdie, does Atlas express intention, benevolence, corrective, or ambiguous?
I believe that Atlas absolutely exhibits intelligence. In fact, I was able to connect with the intelligence during my sessions, and I was able to access this community that created this Voyager type imprint that it inserted into Atlas. And it's entirely the history of their existence from billions of years ago, how they moved, how they grew, much like we did, how they evolved into a technologically based culture, much like us. But they discovered that they lost pieces of their own version of humanity by becoming too connected to technology. And so this message that they've given us in 3i Atlas is a cautionary tale for all the civilizations that have found this along the way, including now ours. It is a supreme message of benevolence, of care, of thinking about how we need to live in this beautiful, gorgeous universe, how we need to be connected to each other, how grounding, as George said, is so important. Get out there barefoot on the ground. These are all the messages coming from 3i Atlas. They're trying to tell us how to be better people, how to be more conscious with each other, how to raise our own consciousness, our own vibrations, so that we can get past this impasse we're at right now. We're at a really precarious moment, and I don't think it's a coincidence that 3i Atlas is coming in at this moment. We are having to make some hard decisions about where we're going with artificial intelligence, with technology, just generally out there politically in terms of countries. against each other and political parties against each other. And this is a message that we need to come together as a human species, because we are entering into this new age. We really are. We are in the age of disclosure. And this is the biggest, we are so lucky to be alive right now. This is literally the biggest moment in all of human history, this time frame right now, right now.
Very good. I would second that absolutely. And I do say that, you know, the group dreaming bit about how we're kind of collectively or morphogenetically painting on the canvas of so-called reality is one thing. And that's actually an extension of what's going on just with me at this little fractal level, and the extent or the degree to which I am able or willing to step into the now, into the 0 point, into timelessness, into absolute truth, absolute right action, because these describe the quanta of that indivisible line between the fallen light of Atlantis, between the fuckery of the last X billion years of psycho-civilizational maelstrom galactic sleep cycles and, you know, galactic days and nights. All of that is behind us. The binary polarized cycles themselves are gone. They're over. So yes, this is so much more than just another end of a grand procession of the equinox cycle, for instance, or whatever. We're moving beyond cycles altogether in that sense. That's certainly the way I see it. And the determining factor, of course, is the I am, is me, in the here and the now. And each of us are needing to have that reckoning, are we not? And I'm seeing that with every single person I know or interface with in the world. Everybody is going through it. And it's a beautiful thing. Absolutely love it. Need to ask this question of David. Could its anomalous frequencies represent communication or calibration? And if so, at what scale are we dealing?
Well, we just got word on Avi Loeb's site of actual frequencies that were around 1.6 gigahertz. And it wasn't elaborated on enough, because 1.6 gigahertz, of course, is golden ratio, 1 to 1.618, right? And that interested me right away. But also, for example, at Skinwalker Ranch, they were detecting 1.6 gigahertz frequencies consistently. So that story broke. And of course, a lot of people took that and went a lot of different directions with it. But I would say the majority, if that was the carrier wave for sending out an actual message, you think of the movie Contact with Jodie Foster, based on Carl Sagan's book, Contact. That would be the carrier signal, but there would be data on that signal, and we're not privy to that data. But the very fact that, you know, the signal is right there in the 1.6 range. I think it was 1.66, or I'd have to look on Loeb's site and actually see that, is the only time they've admitted to any type of actual frequency signaling. I've been sending out signals through my system here with amplifiers, like you see the one behind me there, going to my giant cedar trees 300 feet from me, using them as bioelectric antennas. And I've been sending out ratios of the hyperdimensional solar system and getting responses through a whole different means of transmitting and receiving that are bioelectric in nature, using my plants and plant music as an interface. So you can see here, in fact, I have a course on this to teach people how to set up their own bioelectric antennas. But you can see it in my office here. I've got wires going out the window there, down 300 feet to 3 massive trees. And so I've been doing this with 3i Atlas as a new type of experiment, rather than using traditional antennas. As far as the way it signals us, the angles that I presented, which again, that story gets far deeper than I can do on this platform. It reminds me of the movie Interstellar, where in the end, you know, traveling, sending a message through space and time through the Tesseract. Matthew McConaughey's character is sending this message to his daughter in through these lines that represent binary and Morse code, right? So when I saw, first of all, people don't know this, but the jets coming out of Atlas are going the wrong way. They're not, there is no cometary tail on this thing. The jets are going the opposite directions that Comet's jets would go, which would be back, behind it. Instead, they're in front of it. So I see that as like a holographic projector saying, hey, look at these angles. I know the angles by heart. So when I saw them, I already knew they were going to be what I thought they were. And then it gets rid of the 7 positions that were mapped by astronomers for the angle presentation. And it just gives us the last one in the end, which is 26 degrees. And I mean, anybody who studies the Great Pyramid of Egypt knows what 26 degrees is, but 26 degrees gets far more amazing than even that. So it is different ways of signaling. You can send data on a carrier wave at 1.6 gigahertz. You can send messages through its geometry, and you can, and again, we see a lot of geometry there. We don't really see a comet. It doesn't look like a rock. Even the newest, best images from, again, the Lowell Observatory in Happy Jack, Arizona, they've given us 2 images, and those images are showing real geometry. And I have them all in Photoshop, and I've been looking at them and going, this doesn't look like a comet at all.
Mm. What is the story, David, about this object, let's call it, being traced or tracked by a bunch of smaller objects? Is there any truth in that?
Yes, there's been truth to that for a long time. Again, I have images of that. There at one point, and this was on the fake news, that there were 9 objects following it. Well, I confirmed that because an amateur astronomer posted a GIF image of multiple images into a mini movie, and on spaceweather.com, and I got it. It was actually Richard Hoagland who sent me that. And sure enough, you can see in the motion against the background star. See, the way a telescope works is if you're pointed at 3i Atlas and it's going 130,000 miles an hour, which is faster than the orbits of the planets in their velocities, which are about half that approximately, the lens stays open for 20 seconds. In some cases, the long exposures are 40 minutes long.
Yeah.
So the stars streak in the background, but 3i Atlas doesn't streak because the telescope is tracking it. So what happens is you have a differential between your locked on target and your streaking background stuff. In that, we could see 9 objects with it. And those, I have those images,
Very
here.
good.
And at present, so I can testify that I've witnessed that, yes, there are. And then objects following it. Or as Avi Loeb hypothesized, is that perihelion, when Atlas was at closest position to the sun on the 29th of October, which again is a recent date for the Prophet Muhammad's birthday. This is in my previous work, with all the religious dates in the crossing. In his theory, that was the prime moment to release smaller subcraft to then rendezvous with all the planets that it had rendezvoused with. And that was Mars at Yom Kippur. It was right next to Mars. Then we had the rendezvous with Venus, November 4th, 5th, was bang on the money, all the way up even to the 9th. It was very close to Venus. And its next rendezvous planet, the hyperdimensional planet dates for 591, I have marked also in October, and November 11th today. It's just leaving the orbit of 591. Then it's going to be at Earth, and it's going to flatline in its holding its position to Earth early December to Christmas Day, where it will be a great pyramid angle to Earth, which is a signal. You see, those angles are signals for people who know what the angles mean.
Yes.
Boxing Day, it suddenly jettisons away from holding that close position. That is perfectly timed. This is the evidence of the intelligence that both of our remote viewers today are getting in their data.
Beautiful. Thank you. George, how does this polarity between shadow and light mirror humanity's psychological and spiritual evolution? Just touch on that briefly before I pass the stick to Jenny. You'll need to unmute your microphone.
It comes down to freedom, because at the end of the day, there's a choice for humanity. On the one hand, are we going to rediscover, because it's always been there, our powerful essence, reignite the DNA? Remember, the last post of Q was about the DNA. And do we activate that before the transhuman shadow comes in, the Saturnian fear comes in, and we become the Homo genetic? And so this is where the schism on our planet's happening. I mean, for me, 3I Atlas is so fundamentally high intelligence. It could have come in at any degree off the elliptic. It came in right on the elliptic, 2-3 degrees off, literally right on it. And don't forget, Pluto goes up to 17 degrees off the elliptic. I mean, that is so powerful. It's coming in here to support our journey, but also to refine our ontology. If I had to label the one thing we're most brainwashed on our planet, is our belief systems. And again, it doesn't matter whether we're the disconnected atheist on the one hand or the fundamentalist Abrahamic believer on the other. It's such a distortion, and our community here really get that. And I sense when we tap into this, our whole body electric gets turned online, and we have a choice then to go towards the light and to see the fear, to see it, to witness the Saturnian inversion. You see, it's all an inversion. I mean, like London inverted Remembrance Day today, 11th of November, 11th of November. And what happened exactly 106 years ago was World War I, when it officially ended on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. And you add up 11, that's the 33, the high degree of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. What we're beginning to see as a human collective is the program matrix for what it is, because back then, 106 years ago, we didn't realize, unless you were some occultist, some descendant of Madame Blavatsky, most of us did not know. And today, Tom, Dick, and Fanny kind of are waking up to it.
Very good. Call me Fanny. Jenny, your transmissions suggest coded frequencies interacting with consciousness. Are they still ongoing, and who or what is meant to receive them?
Well, the ones that have been seated here, everybody says, they're waking up, but there's the ones that have been seated here before we even got here. We already knew that we were going to go into this process. We're going back into the memory. We're going back into our crystal line. Everybody thinks it's the flesh, the blood, and the bone, and it's not. The crystal line, our body form is changing. So we're going into that process, but also we have to be able to handle energy. And this past 2 years, as you guys have been feeling all this emotion and all this change, it's upgrading you. It's putting that memory back into you. We're going back into our higher self in the memory. And that's why in dream state, we're not really sleeping anymore. We're traveling. And then also there are beings that are in the government process that have been replaced that are these collective beings. That's the whole thing. This is not just worldwide, universal wide. This is our planet's a witness. Everybody's watching what's going on, and you're feeling it. You can't deny it, because the ones that are not in the line of the collective, they're zombied out. Yeah. They're not functioning. You guys can't even be around them because it's too hard to go down to that lower vibration. And that's why it's already dividing. And that's that where they talk about that particle that's going to come hit Earth, and it's just going to disappear. So the thing is, we have to put this planet back into a different stasis. We can't leave it in the way that it is. We have to, the humanity projects have to start. We all are ready to go with the humanity projects. We're ready to roll out, pull our history out of the ground, stop burying it to the core. And that's what I want to do. All I want to do is dig up our history out of the ground and find it and everywhere. So, the Holy Land is saturated. Churches are planted all over it to cover up what's in the ground in layers. Antarctica in layers. There's different worlds on this planet. And so you got to look at this as a plated glass process. 3D can look at that, but if you step behind it and you say, I'm just going to accept what I'm seeing and feeling, and not be a part of the matrix and walk through it. You're already awake. You're already feeling it. So this energy that comes from this thing, it vibrates like the sun, but 10 times stronger. There's a major crystal line within it. And these beings will show themselves as your veil of understanding will take the information. It's aligning us. There's nothing to fear in the future.
Beautiful, beautiful. Quite so. Let me just wrap this piece up by saying that my synthesis here is Atlas is less, I'm talking about this little segment, 3i Atlas is less a visitor than a reflection. So that the cosmos holding up a mirror to our own divided nature in that sense. But if we're looking at timelines and alignments, let's talk about timing, because 1111 has always been, as George just alluded to, regarded as a harmonic portal, and Atlas now reaches its visible threshold precisely within that window, that portal. So again, George, two things. One, did you mention February the 14th?
I did. Now it's very
Valentine's Day, or
it's February the 14th is the conjunction of Saturn Neptune on the 0 point of Aries. It's unbelievable, and I think so much of this is down to relationships. Actually, we are going to have to release so many old relationships,
right,
on a personal level, on a macro level, and you've just spoken about it. The whole panel has, in a way, it's a frequency separation, and we have the choice. But here's the other thing: the North Node is in Pisces. What is that asking us to do? Again, make a choice between the two types of Saturn, or the two types of time, I should say. Kairos, Chronos. Kairos, quality time. Chronos, quantity time. In a way, it's a rebuke back to Saturn, a rebuke to Chronos. It really is about quality time now. And David was speaking the other day about 9 celestial spheres in Dante's Paradiso. All this ancient knowledge is coming back online, and we really can read it even more than mythically, even more than symbolically. Well, yes, symbolically to bring together rather than diabolically to split asunder.
But what does the 1111 passage signify astrologically? Are there alignments amplifying its resonance?
I mean, yeah, at the moment, one of the reasons why people are a bit angry is because we have a Mars-Mercury conjunction in Sagittarius, which makes for people to be short-tempered. But 1111 is a beautiful harmonic. It's just because it's a palindrome. It also coincides with 2025, which is a 9 in numerology. So it's like endings. We're really getting to a stage where we're moving out of that old frequency. So I see in that sense 1111 being a master number. Obviously, you add it up to 22. It's very abundant. It's bringing in a lot of new energy for us, the way showers, to embody it. Because ultimately, Sacha, our community know that it's not even about words. It's about embodying it and being the light. And when we're allowed to do that, that's more than 1,000 words. We just be the light.
Beautiful. David, is there any correlation between Atlas's position, frequency peaks, and this numeric harmonic 1111?
Yeah, so let me show you, because today's 1111. Let me just go to my share screen here. And this is the angle on human DNA. Pyramid angle, 51 degrees. Can you see that?
Not yet. Coming in.
Sometimes it takes, there it is.
Yep.
That's using a protractor, a real electron microscope image of human DNA. So it's at 51 degrees. Remember, the leftover in a 90-degree quadrant is 39 degrees, which is one of the 3 angles I mapped on the jets of 3i Atlas. So the complementary is 39, and then there's 5-1. Now, guess what? Guess what happened with the solar flare today? So I'm going to show you that too. So the solar flare, according to NOAA, I just want people to see this, because seeing is believing. According to NOAA, where is it? Here it is. The strength of the solar flare was 5.1. You see? There it is. That's an X-class level flare.
Right.
5.1.
Right.
So it's the messages are there. We've seen 3i Atlas when it was approaching the sun. The backside of the sun was kicking huge solar flares towards it, directly towards it, as if they were communicating with each other. And then this morning on 11/11, it sends us a 5/1. And George brought this up that, is it doing something to our DNA? Because our DNA angle of the chiral spiral in human DNA is 51 degrees, 51 minutes. So it's double 5/1. So I think there's a message. I mean, again, this is the way. See, the problem with today's astronomers, one, they're prejudiced against archaeoastronomy. That means how ancient temples like the pyramids and Solomon's temple were aligned to the sun, the ecliptic, and the planets, and the astrology. They're all prejudiced against that because a lot of them are atheists. Then, in addition to that, they want, and I mean, Loeb, I would say Avi Loeb, the Harvard astronomer who's leading this story to the media, he's their number one feeding position. He believes it's extraterrestrial. There's no doubt that I know he believes that because he believed Oumuamua was extraterrestrial. And I mapped Oumuamua, 21 Borisov, and 3I Atlas at their closest position to the sun's, which is called perihelion. They're 1 to the golden ratio squared of each other. That's showing coordination, harmonics to what we know about the Fibonacci sequence in the golden ratio, which is evident everywhere in nature. Now it's doing it again. Because I predicted last week, which is why we did this event today on November 11th, that 3I Atlas will be crossing the outer band of hyperdimensional planet 591, which I think is the epicenter of the whole thing, because the bullseye of 3I Atlas was within almost 98% of the orbit of 591, according to math that I did on its orbit.
Very
and again,
good.
that's an invisible position.
Can I just ask David something quickly? Because can you also share with the audience the difference between the Logos sun and the physical sun? Because I think some of your ideas on that are very, very on, like the bridge between the solar system and the other. And I'm thinking his Dark Materials by Philip Pullman here. It's almost like we can step into another dimension through some of these portal activations and stargates.
I'm so glad you brought that up, George, because the ultimate question about solar worship in Egypt, I think, is incorrect. I think the solar disk that the goddess Isis and Hathor and Osiris have above their heads is the higher sun, the hyperdimensional sun, because there are these ancient manuscripts called the Forgotten Books of Eden, where when Adam and Eve fall from the higher dimensional universe, which the ancient Egyptians called the Aeneid, which is the upper nine, and then the ancient Egyptians had a lower Aeneid, which is where we are, the lower 9 spheres, counting the sun, is that when they fell in the Forgotten Books of Eden, Adam and Eve noticed suddenly that the sun that they're used to, which normally transmits bliss and love and higher frequencies, they're now in a sun that transmits heat, and they get thirsty for the first time. This is documented in the Forgotten Books of Eden. So when I experience every day in meditation, which I've been doing for 50 years every day, is when the third eye and the crown really open. You're basking in this supernatural, super luminal, super bright ecstasy field. This is way up here, and it's such a high vibration.
Yeah. This is the
it's
Tibetan
so clear to me that the iconography of the solar disk with the horns above the head, it's not the physical sun, it's the higher sun.
Very good. Very good. Beautiful, David.
I have proof of this coming at Christmas. I have proof.
David, I need to bring the other guests in momentarily. Jenny, I wanted to get your take. You've spoken of time codes embedded in cosmic events. So what might 1111 signify in the context of Atlas?
You're going to see more of a memory that's coming back into you that you're like, and this is what we do. We put it in our one lifetime here, but it's coming from other lifetimes. And I see a diamond our diamond reflection, which is all these lifetimes that we're walking in, and that's all going to come, the memory. It's like the Lucy syndrome. We're going back into that, and our memory's coming back. That's the whole thing. But I'm going to tell you what changes it. You're going to see fear completely dismantled. You're going to actually go into your superhuman conscience and understand what you're capable of doing. It doesn't matter where we are physically, because there is no change or limitation when you are in your oneness of the conscience. This is what's bringing it back. So on that the drawing I did, there is a sun that shows in the ship. It has a bright yellow energy, and that is when he was talking about the sun, they showed that in the ship, and everything works off of that vibration. And so, and up there, I mean, the whole process is its frequency coming in. This is where I've been talking about for years, is the ley lines, the pyramids, all of this, what is activating it. You're going to see a world event effect from this going by, but also there is a piece of it within the earth that's going to activate. It's from inside that's already been here before. And that's what they showed me. So the ones, we're going to be standing in the stillness going, this is great. We love it. And the other ones are, they can't see it. So you got the 5D people looking in one direction and they're seeing everything. And you got the 3D people, they're like, we can't see it because they didn't do the work. They didn't work through the reflection. We're going to be in it. It changes us dimensionally.
Beautiful, beautiful. And it's such a simple algorithm, again, pure truth and right action and being present and alert to the living moment.
Yes.
It is the algorithm. It just doesn't get simpler than that. And indeed, that's how the weak inherit the earth. And that's all the majesty of the technology of ascension is all anchored in that simple quanta of just being in the I am, in the here and now, fully present, fully actualized, fully actuated, and seeking to do no harm. Birdie, are sensitives or remote viewers reporting energetic effects or pattern shifts around this 1111 temporal gate?
Absolutely. Not only do we have all of, the ancient mythology and the importance of numerology and all of these things affecting us, we're in this moment of solar maximum right now. And this is affecting everyone on the planet in incredible kinds of ways, and especially those who practice any kind of the psychic arts, such as remote viewing or channeling, mediumship. In fact, today, as the X class flare, the X5.1 was mentioned, what's really interesting, and I just got a notification about this from NASA, this particular flare has just sent out an incredible number of energetic protons toward Earth. And now all of our neutron monitors are picking this up. It's called a ground level event, a GLE. The ground level events of this magnitude are extremely, extremely rare. They only happen once every solar cycle, perhaps, and the last one was about 20 years ago. So this is significant. We're being hit at this moment in time on 11/11 with this incredible amount of energy from the sun. We can feel it. That's why our animals are activated. But if you practice remote viewing or any of the other psychic arts, today is your day to get out there and explore something cool. You will have more insights, deeper insights. The sun coexists with us. And in multiple sessions that I've done recently, back in November, at the time of the height of the media covering the New Jersey drones, I did a number of sessions on the New Jersey drones, and I kept getting that of course, they weren't actually drones. They were non-human intelligence, shape-shifting non-human intelligence, but they were hyper-focused on our sun because they knew that our sun is undergoing right now this metamorphosis of its own, just like we are as a species, as humanity. And so I believe the 3i Atlas is also exhibiting some interest in our sun. And today, like I said, we are now being hit with all of these particles from the sun. This is direct from NASA. This is science. And it's absolutely incredible what's happening.
Very good. So in the era of manufactured revelation, every mystery becomes a battleground of meaning. And what some call disclosure, others call deception. And for years, intelligence analysts and experiencers have warned that extraterrestrial phenomena could be weaponized as a psychological theater. And this harkens back to the days of Operation Paperclip, Operation High Jump. They're all interconnected. Majestic 12, and all of that. The kind of sequestration of those expeditionary forces that went out and started to realize the world beyond Einsteinian and Darwinian and Cartesian bullshit. But the fact of the matter is that intelligence analysts and experiencers have warned that extraterrestrial phenomenon could be weaponized. Well, we all know that now. We all know that everything is by and large weaponized by the war powers, by the corporation. So where do we place Atlas on that spectrum? PSYOP, prophecy, or divine design? And again, we're kind of repeating things somewhat here, but with so many conflicting narratives, from media speculations to the intuitive impressions, some of which we're getting here, which are just extraordinary. How do each of you distinguish what is orchestrated from what is authentic? What are the real guideposts that humanity can trust as this mystery and other attendant mysteries unfold, as they most likely will, as the quickening continues? George, let me put that to you first.
I think with this, it is a divine appointment as well as a prophetic appointment, and I think those two go somewhat together. And again, for me, the big gateways, the two astrological points to focus on, the first would be the winter solstice, because of this unique, I mean, it can't be accidental that the three-eye atlas conjoins our planet Earth when the sun, moon, and Mars are all in conjunction. That is way too, there's no guesswork in that. And that's, so for me, there's some shifting of the Baphomet story. And for me, I see it as positive. Yes, I'm aware that the last time we had the Mars, Sun, Moon, and Pluto conjunction was the rollout of the pandemic, Baphomet's plan, if you like, in 2020.
Yeah.
With Three-Eye Atlas, just watching what it's done so far, just looking at the evidence of Mars conjunction, the ceasefire in the Middle East, and with the conjunction in Venus, a lot of people last 2 weeks have been having a lot of activation in their bodies, in their psychic realm. I mean, it's just off the charts now. So I look at December 20th and 21st with great excitement and a sense of prophecy, divine appointment. And then the second one would be the February 14th with the ingress of Saturn, Neptune in Aries, which actually is a new financial system. My guesswork is the quantum financial system has to start rolling out after that.
Well, let's pick up that conversation later. I'm in touch with a number of the seminal white hats on three continents in that regard, George, and I'd be very happy to even have that conversation with some of them and bring you in some confidence, because I do think that you're right. I think these date lines are very portentous. David, the same question to you. What guidepost can humanity trust as this mystery unfolds? And you understand all about the PSYOP piece, but what should people be looking toward right now?
Well, because I see evidence of the cube, and which is like the tesseract, the hypercube, which I could show here briefly. The end of the book of Revelation prophesies a new Jerusalem, which is a cubic city made of gold that comes out of the sky and marks the beginning of divine rulership on earth. Again, that cube could be a hyperdimensional cube. In the last several weeks, as Atlas has approached the sun, I've had this experience 4 times now. The first time, I think I've talked about this before, a woman south of me who's been a remote viewer teacher for 25 years. She's in Washington. We both that morning, which is the 5th of October, just after Yom Kippur and the alignment of Three-Eye Atlas to Mars, I saw this bright light coming into my sleeping cabin, and I thought the sun was up, and I get up and I go outside, and it was really, really bright, and there was nothing. And I go back to bed and I go out of body and I see literally a brightly glowing planet. And I mark its position. Again, Dante in the Paradiso, when he describes the upper 9 planets of the angels or the enlightened, he describes how incredibly bright they are. And I saw this. And this woman, who won't let me give her name out. I mean, a lot of remote viewers are very private people. They don't like their names being, given out, some of them. She woke up at 4 in the morning and saw the same thing, but with her eyes open. And she said, "What is that? I mean, it's way brighter than the moon. It's not the moon because the moon wasn't up." And she marked the time the same as me. Well, it turns out the angle between her and I on Google Earth is 39 degrees, which is the resurrection angle in Egypt. Now, this has happened to me 4 times in this period where I'm doing this frequency work, and I get up in the middle of the night. And if the secret to going out of body is actually, if you get up in the middle of the night, stay awake for a while, do 20 minutes of meditation, and go back to sleep consciously. That is the easiest way to have a conscious out of body experience. If you do this over and over and over again. And I saw it again.
Beautiful.
I have been seeing these upper angelic planets of the enlightened 4 times, and they're very bright. I mean, the light is not my imagination. It's coming in, and it's actually blinding me. And I'm actually seeing it up in the sky, and I can mark the position. In fact, one morning recently, it was cloudy, and I was seeing this bright object out of body through the cloud layer. So I marked the date and the time, and I know what I'm looking at. So I think the veil is thinning, as it did at the time of the miracle of the sun at Fatima, as it did at the time that astronomers actually detected planet Vulcan near the sun in the early 19th century. I think there are periods of time where the veil or the portal opens, and we can get a blessing or interaction with these enlightened positions. So to answer your question, I'm just following the data. I know there's a lot of negative theories. There's a lot of theories that could be a bad thing. But I think all evidence points to Christmas and winter solstice, like George just said, because Avi Loeb's first data said its closest position to Earth was the 20th of December. And the 21st is the solstice. I mean, that's one day off. Yeah. It holds that position at 99.9% accuracy all the way through the 25th, Christmas. And then it jettisons away. So I think all the signs are that I don't think there's anything to be afraid of.
Very good. Very good. So it seems to me, you mentioned 21st December is really kind of ground zero dateline, right?
Yeah, that's the solstice. Right. Yeah.
Why don't we, Christy, we should try to nail down that day as the Lazarus Symposium, live symposium. And it would be terrific if we could invite all the guests here back on and do that live piece on the 21st and be able to see what's happened between now and then. I'm sure Linda Moulton Howe will join us, and maybe Michael Salla and others, but we could have some real fun on that day if everyone's game for that. Birdie, you and speaking of those noble and courageous souls like yourself and Jenny who move and navigate between the seen and the unseen realms. I've got so much love and respect for your kind of pioneering, the both of you. Having said that, David's doing exactly the same thing with his meditations, and George with his very intense artistic musings. And I think I probably do the same thing in my states of contemplation. But I do really respect that you're moving and pioneering this realm between the seen and the unseen. What guideposts from your perspective, Birdie, and I'll ask you this first, but I'm very keen to also get Jenny's take. What guideposts can humanity trust looking around as this great mystery unfolds? What should they be looking to as their lodestar in being able to decode for themselves in the very personalized sense about the kind of fuckery going on culturally and geopolitically and all the kind of maelstrom, the meltdown of the status quo that's palpably taking place? What should people look to? Because that's the essential piece we're trying to get to in this broadcast.
Yeah, Sacha, that is such a great question. It's impossible to trust authority figures these days. You simply can't. You can't trust the news, the mainstream media, can't trust authority figures. You can't trust even friends and neighbors because they're hooked in to the old paradigms.
So what you're saying is
thing,
trust the Catholic Church, right?
no, don't trust religion either. But you can trust your own intuition, your gut, your belief. Everyone out there is connected in this consciousness field to absolutely everything else in our beautiful universe. You can feel and describe anything across time, across space, going back and forward in time. This is a gift that humanity has been given. So we all need to tune into that gift and start understanding these things based on how we feel about it. So if you see a news story and your gut tells you, you know what, there's something wrong there, listen to yourself. That is when I work with students, that is the number one rule. You have to believe in yourself. You get what you get, whatever you get in your gut. That's real. That's real data. And so that's what I think we should focus on. What we truly can intuit ourselves, what we feel ourselves. Don't let anyone else tell you what to believe, what to think, or what to feel. Let it rise up within you.
All right, kids, I can turn to the audience and say, pay no attention to what she said, because everything I tell you, you should do and attend to and pay close attention to. But that notwithstanding, she's absolutely correct. Hashtag fuck the government and anything that imposes itself as third-party intervention or as a so-called authority. So I thank you for that, Birdie. And I know that this very substantial audience looking in all singularly agree with that sentiment. Jenny, same question to you. What should people be looking to as a seminal lodestar at this time?
So the elements are telling you what's being created. The stillness and the sound of the vibration of the light is telling you. Earth's core is talking to you. And if you take a mask and you cover your eyes and you listen inside as you go through that journey and you focus what you're feeling and what your instinct is telling you, as you come out of that, your conscience is more clear because the fear is gone. It is what you're looking at is telling you to control you. But what you feel, and that's the whole thing that Spirit always shows me, completely let your soul go. Give it into the universe. But the whole thing is, it's the sound, the vibration. When we were born here, we were seated here. The minute you got here was the test. It wasn't what the man has said, hey, these are the classes, this is what you need to do, this is the program. It was the very path that you took. No matter what it did, whatever you went through, that was the test. And now we are all podiums of light that are shining within Earth's core. And that core, that root of that seed is shining through us. And all we have to do is stand in the podium of light and shine now. And the vibration's going to come. So all you have to do is close the eyes and listen to the wind and the soul. It's telling you where you're going. You're going home.
I love that. I love that. And I concur that the field architecture is there always to support us in all ways, as long as we're in a still point and able to observe, whether it's the movement of butterflies, or birds, or the movement of the wind. Thank you for that, and bringing it back down to earth. So between psyop and prophecy runs the razor's edge of awareness, human awareness. And that's precisely where we now stand as the new humanity. So on human response and integration of this 3-eye atlas phenomenon, whatever atlas ultimately is, our response defines the outcome, not the data alone. And the phenomenon becomes what we are capable of perceiving, as our guests have been alluding to. So how do we engage this event without projection or fear as sovereign participants in the experiment of consciousness? And what practices or states of coherence allow us to attune safely and without distortion? Can resonance or frequency technologies serve? And many of you know we've been banging on about this on Lazarus for years, and demonstrating some of these technologies and bringing forward leading scientists in this particular field. But can resonance or frequency technologies serve as translators between cosmic signaling and human biology? What archetype must humanity now embody to integrate this contact with grace? And is there a timeline where the Atlas event catalyzes awakening rather than disbelief? George, I want to ask you first, just to riff on any or all of the above.
It's really powerful, this, because it's about radiance, it's about remembrance. And I love the concept of radiance because it's coming from our own solar light. If you like, the immanence, not just the eminence. It's remembering why your soul came here. Of course, there's a chemical aspect. We've got to detoxify massively because Saturn has poisoned us. But notwithstanding that, this is when we enter that energy of remembrance, we become more attractive because we can share the gift with the world. And the more aligned you are to your soul contract, the more you literally glow, brilliant, radiant. And the Vedic teaching spoke about that, through the tejas. And I think the Christians call it the grace factor. And I think when we tune in through authentic engagement to our soul contract, we start to do the inside work. So we work from the inside out, and we kind of forget what other people think. That's the negative of Venus. What does community think of me? How do I fit in with Tom and all that stuff? We pull away and we do that inner work. We detoxify at the same time, and we become, again, Venus, more magnetic. Because true attraction isn't about pulling people towards you. It's actually about radiating from within, because you're so powerfully authentic. Actually, you expand way more than love does. For me, love can't exist without authenticity. To me, that's just codependency. So ultimately, we're being forced through the birth canal of deep authenticity.
Beautiful. Well, you were the one who reminded us all too recently that that the frequency of authenticity is 50 times higher than the frequency of love. And I'll tell you, I went away with that and sat with it, not for very long, because it just occurred to me how insanely true that is. Authenticity every time over what is commonly perceived or misperceived as love. So thank you for that.
If I can also just add one other thing, sorry to be greedy, it's just music is the alpha and the omega. So I've worked with music all my life, and that's frequency. Any Tom, Dick, and Sally can just get a bowl, a gong.
What happened to Fanny?
Well, I know that was just for you, a one-off special. Okay, the joke doesn't work so well second time. The point is, music is if anything, we've been talking about music of the spheres today, haven't we, guys, on this great panel? Music of the spheres, the harmonics, the cosmic biology, whatever we want to call it. This is the North Node in Pisces. It's behooving us to tap into that Neptune frequency of dissolving, like that water video you just had up. And that's where the Christed connection is. So find the music, do the toning, do the humming, whatever it is, because when you actually hum with what you see from the outside, you integrate as above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul. That's the final bit, which so many people forget. As the universe, so the soul. And we really become a mirror of the outer. And through the music, the language of music, the Palladians understand this, Uranus at 29 degrees, suddenly we get activated and the DNA is turned online.
Very good. Well, thank you for that. David, I wanted to also invite your musings.
Well, I have years ago, based on the measurements of all the planets, calculated their frequencies and their octaves. And a lot of the people in my inner circle have been toning exactly like George is saying, that musically, and I was greatly inspired by Jamie James' book, Music of the Spheres. But hidden in the data of 3i Atlas and its axial rotation, I was able to decode the binaural audio, which means 2 out of phase frequencies, for not only the 9 visible planets, but also the 9 planets of the angels. And I'm about to release this. These are exact. So there'll be, the way binaural tones work is you get one tone in the left and the right ear, and the differential between them is the balancing point, the pivotal point in the binaural beat audio, which takes you there. And I found it was effective just to tone with the octaves of, in fact, we did this. It takes about 6 months. So you spend about a month on each planet. And when you know where the position of that planet is and you work with its frequencies, you really start to have an experience with it, a true music of the spheres event. And one of my favorite scenes in Jamie James' book, Music of the Spheres, I'm looking around for that book because I have it somewhere here, is, again, we talked about this last time, George, is in this wedding feast of the daughter of Venus. The goddess Harmony comes into the wedding feast wearing this circular, gold instrument on her chest, out of which wells the most beautiful music, surpassing all of the music of the harp and the lyre for the ancient Greeks. And she's approached after the wedding, like, where did you get this instrument? Where did this music come from? And she says, the music is the harmony of the planets. But hidden in the harmony of the message of Three-Eye Atlas is exactly what Dante saw in the Paradiso, is the golden ratio separation between the 9 planets below and the 9 positions of the angelic spheres above. So now I actually have those numbers for people to meditate to, and I can't wait to release these. They'll be coming out just before Christmas on my website, which is right under my name here. But I love this point in the Paradiso. Dante turns from Beatrice and beholds a vision of God as a non-dimensional point of light ringed by 9 more glowing spheres representing the angelic hierarchy. Dante is puzzled because in the vision seems to reverse the order of the universe, the highest rank of the angels at the center represented by the smallest sphere, which means he's looking back towards the sun, and the highest level of the angels are right next to the sun. Now, this is the model that my wife gave me from the afterlife with the pivoting axis at 591. Three-Eye Atlas sent us the same message in its axial rotational period, which I've talked about before. So all I had to do is separate the two and go through all the 9 times 9 levels, which is 18 positions, and extract all the numbers, and I developed this new system. So I think this is a gift that Three-Eye Atlas has given us so that we can reconnect with these angelic or enlightened positions, because the ancient Hindus and the Vedas, and if you read Yoga Paramahansa's book, his very, very famous book. In fact, Elvis had it in the bathroom with him when he was committing suicide. The Autobiography of a Yogi describes these super blissful planets that the enlightened beings who attain the high states of samadhi live on. So I think that's the message, is we've lost that. And George, you brought up an important point that I didn't fulfill, which is you asked about the logos, because the logos in the ancient Greek is the most mysterious of all words. In the original John 1 in the Greek, it says, in the beginning was the logos, and the logos was with God, and the logos is God. The logos is the perfect harmonic vibration transmitted by the hyperdimensional sun, the real sun, the sun behind the sun. And that our heart center, which is our source connection to logos, it can potentially be reactivated so that every human being can have access to that supreme source of bliss consciousness that we lost in the proverbial
in the beginning was the sound. In the beginning was the sound, really.
Right. In the beginning was the perfect sound. And the perfect sound isn't a single frequency. It's a ratio. I mean, George knows this. In music, you have a harmony when you have 1, 2, or more frequencies together that are in perfect ratio. They're in perfect harmony.
It's fascinating what you're saying about the third harmonic, because when I put those 2 notes together, which are similar, I create a third harmonic with crystals, and that's when the healing comes in. And I'm just a kid still doing this, figuring it out. I haven't even got 10% of the way. It's fascinating, that.
Yeah, none of us are more than 10% of the way, but it really is about tuning. Like I've been meditating my whole life, done every technique there is, hung out with every guru you can think of. I've met them all, been to India. And the one thing that's very interesting, in the original Lord's Prayer in Aramaic, the language Jesus spoke, it says, "O thou from whom the breath of life comes, who fills all realms with sound, light, and vibration. May you touch me in my utmost holiest, which will come true, all that is material and dense." It was all about the breath and the sound. And then that got changed by the church to take us away from the sound practices. In the Gospel of the Egyptians, which is again a Gnostic manuscript discovered in Nag Hammadi, Egypt in 1945, is a practice of toning to vowel sounds. They had 7 vowel sounds. We have 5 vowels at correct pitch. Now, if you go and you just try to, it's like trying to sing and not being trained perfect pitch. If you chant the mantra Om and you're not at correct pitch, it might take you a long time to get to the right experience that it's trying.
Yeah, when you get it to 432, correct A, Houston, you have liftoff.
Yeah, and the octaves that come off of 432,
which are the conjunctions in astrology, by the way.
Okay, guys, we're getting too sciencey as we draw toward the end of this panel, so I'm going to interject. Editor's prerogative. David, thank you. Fascinating as ever. I want to invite Jenny and your closing reflections on the conversation.
So when you talk about the heart, and when we're talking about being in the light, when you take your heart and you expand it and you literally spiritually put it out to the universe, not for any intentions, but exchange, it comes back into Creator's breath. And that's the thing, is we have to do things for unconditional. It's the share experience of the collective of this world. When we understand when this event happens, it's all going to bring us to our knees and make us humble. And everybody's at the same level of understanding of caring for the collective of humanity universally. And that is the thing that matters, is literally when you're in front of someone, not holding, suppressing your heart, giving it out to the universe. And you feel that vibration because it's weaving in, abrading in with the earth now.
Yes. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so very much, Jenny. Birdie, your closing reflections.
We are all connected, every single one of us. We're connected to everything in the universe, every rock, every insect, every nebula, every galaxy. We can feel all of it within ourselves. And we're at this magical time where all of these things are coming together. The sun is activating. We're having earth changes that are happening. 3i Atlas, drones, mysterious drones popping up in multiple places across the world. This is the universe responding to humanity's growth and change. And I think it's important for us to remember that we need to lift others up as we lift ourselves up. Instead of just considering this your solo journey, think about everyone around you and find ways that you can help them come to understand their own intuitive truth. Thank you.
Stuff. Thank you so very much, Birdie. Friends, thank you. And, we've looked into the heavens and found ourselves staring back. Perhaps Atlas is not arriving at us, but through us, and a living download of the next octave of the human story. And, it may be a traveler from the stars, beyond the stars, or a reflection cast from the depths of our own gestalt, but galactic gestalt. But in truth, these two are not separate. And the cosmos is a mirror with no frame, and consciousness is the lens through which it learns to see itself. And whether this is a signal, a ship, or a shimmering mirage of the collective soul, one thing is certain, and that is that the human story has entered into a new octave. And the instruments are no longer telescopes alone. They are hearts attuned to frequency, minds stripped of dogma and the Catholic Church, spirits remembering their cosmic citizenship. And the sky is speaking, friends. The question is, can we listen without translation, which is to say, without fear, which is to say, without agenda? And for those of us who dare, Atlas is not an object. It is the ultimate invitation to awaken, to align, and to remember that we're not a species awaiting contact. We are contact. As above, so within.
Hello.
And thank you for journeying with Jenny, Birdie, David, George, producer Christy, and myself as we sojourn through this Lazarus exploration. We will look to follow David's sagacious advice and come back on the 21st of December with the ultimate I guess, the climax of this extraordinary journey that we're undertaking together. So may your dreams, friends, today, be electric with the memory of the stars, and may the signal of Atlas find its perfect resonance in the human heart. I want to thank my guests for joining me today. Thank you, friends. And record audience, have to say there are many thousands of people watching right now. It's been a tremendous, tremendous turnout. George, thank you, brother. David, thank you. Jenny, thank you. Bertie, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it for me, friends. I'm going to hand the rod to producer Christy, and see you anon on Lazarus Symposium.
I want to talk a little bit about Spike Turbo for the health part, because this is kind of the link we use, very similar to the Spike. So many people know about the Spike, but they don't know about the second product that we have, because the label is so similar, called the Spike Turbo. And we got very good reports from people. Actually, somebody just took the Spike Turbo for a few days and their blood clot decreased. I know several people who unfortunately died because of the blood clot that they got through Spike. We all know that we have been all infected. I have been in San Francisco, and I have been taking this even if I haven't taken the vaccine. So I really want to encourage people to check our website and check the Spike Turbo. It has 2.5 times more IgY spikes and the antidote for the spike protein in comparison to the first product we had. And it also has another amazing thing, which is the antidote for E. coli. I had friends who had UTI and went to the doctors, and the doctor cannot solve their problems. And actually, one of the reasons that women have UTI is because of the because of the E. coli. I had UTI and I have taken the Spike Turbo, and my issue has been resolved. So even if we sell this as an immune support and as a health supplement, it can really do much more than that. I live in San Francisco. There's a lot of 5G radiation, but it gets activated through the weaponized E. coli. I'm taking this and I'm working in San Francisco, no problem. I don't have any problem with the 5G because I'm taking this product. This is a 3-month supply. But honestly, it's so strong that if you just get one and share with your spouse or partner, and even if ideally you want to take it for 3 months, but even if you take it in just 1.5 months and share with another family members, you can still see positive effect. So please check our website. We have a New Earth 20 as a 20% discount. We are going to have more products in the pharmacy soon, but you need to have a healthy body because our next products are a little bit stronger.
I love how your name is Worth 20. Thank you. Awesome.
It's the coupon code. People get 20% discount.